guys, Dr. McIver here, and today we have a special guest, Miss Kayla Green. We are going to be doing an interview with her, and I met Kayla a few years ago now at the Ionia High School. Kayla is a teacher, math teacher, correct?
Correct.
Math teacher, I guess we should probably say. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is kind of late in the evening, but when you have kids, this is what you have to do, is schedule these things when they're asleep. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Kayla has something that is called gastroparesis, and the reason I wanted to bring her on is because most people probably have never even heard of gastroparesis or even know what gastroparesis is. So gastroparesis, all I want you to know is paralysis of the stomach. It should take the stomach about 4 hours, roughly, to move food from it out into the intestines. And Kayla, how long did your stomach take?
6 to 8.
6 to 8. So that's a lot more work that the stomach has to do. And the reason we want to talk about gastroparesis is we've already mentioned in videos on previously that I've recorded on my channel about what chiropractic is and the functionality of it. It's a lot more than neck pain, back pain, headaches. It's about function, and this is a perfect example of a brain not talking to one of its parts appropriately. So we're going to dive in tonight about gastroparesis, or paralysis of the stomach. So Kayla, can you just walk us back from when you first had gastroparesis? How old were you, and what was life like back then?
So life was interesting back then. I first got sick when I was 13 years old, so it was the summer before I went into ninth grade. I was on a family trip with lots of extended family, and my parents told me that we were at a Wendy's, and I got really ill, kind of the symptoms you would get with the flu, very nauseous, sweaty, lightheaded, thought I was going to throw up, and that continued, unfortunately, for the next 13 years. So a lot of my symptoms, when food doesn't digest in the appropriate time in which it should, it sits in your stomach and can rot. So I was very, very nauseous all the time. And so from that point, it was a lot of doctor's appointments, tests, procedures, until I met Dr. McIver 13 years later.
13 years you did this. Now, what were some of the doctors, hospitals, tests? What were some of the things that you did? How long did it even take them to finally decide this is gastroparesis?
Oh, so it took them 6 years to diagnose me with gastroparesis. But starting from when I first got sick, going into high school, my family doctor tried to run tests, but he quickly realized over a period of about 5 months, I had lost so much weight. And I was never a big kid, so I lost 20 plus pounds, and I was very, very, very skinny, malnourished. So he sent me to an adolescent doctor through Beaumont Hospital, and she diagnosed me with extreme malnutrition. And my first test that I ever did in the hospital was called a gastric emptying test, where I ate radioactive eggs and toast, and then they took a scan of me every 30 minutes or so to watch the eggs digest through my system. And actually, the first test I did was very miserable because the test was inconclusive, because I couldn't actually finish the amount of eggs that I had to eat for the test to be considered good. I physically couldn't eat it because I was so sick.
Wow.
So it didn't tell me anything. And I actually did that same test 4 years later, and that was actually when they diagnosed me with gastroparesis. So 4 to 5 years. I did that exact same test, but I was on it. I was frustrated at that point. I really wanted test results, so that was what diagnosed me with gastroparesis. But in between those 4 to 5 years, after being with this adolescent doctor, I had a lot of other tests done. My gallbladder wasn't functioning. It was at functioning about 17%. So they took that out. They removed my gallbladder. I had tests done, lots of endoscopies where they put you out and they go through your throat to try to look at your esophagus and then your stomach lining. Had a stomach biopsy, lots of blood tests, and they couldn't really figure out anything. And so they stuck me eventually, after that last egg test, they stuck me with the diagnosis of idiopathic gastric paresis, which just means
we don't know.
we don't really know why you have this. Yeah, we can't tell you why you have this, but you have it.
Right.
Here we go. And then that started a long list of, okay, now that we've finally figured out what you have, let's try to prevent your symptoms.
Okay.
So
let's walk through there now. What were some of the things that we tried for this?
You want medications first or procedures first?
We can hit some medications.
Let's hit some
medications. Where were you going? Where was that? What hospital were you at? You went to U of M for a while, correct?
Yeah, I went to Beaumont for a while. They sent me to, after the adolescent doctor couldn't really help me. She was like, okay, this seems more of a gastric type issue. So they sent me to a gastroenterologist. It was still through Beaumont, but it was a different location. And then finally in college, my gastric doctor told me, I'm sorry, I can't do anything else to help you. I'm not sure what else I can do. So I'm going to refer you to a gastroenterologist at U of M Health System. So I went to U of M Hospital, and that's where I spent my last 3 to 4 years of going to doctors. Okay. And now I don't have any except a chiropractor.
Right. We'll get to that. Yeah. All right. Let's run through a bit of these medications first.
Okay. So the very first medication they put me on, this was actually in high school. It's called Reglan. It turns out I am very allergic. So I had a horrible experience in the high school weight room. Actually, it was during like gym class or something. My muscles started to get paralysis, all of them throughout my entire body. And I don't know why they didn't call 911. I'm now looking back on it, but my mom came and picked me up, and I just remember sitting in the front seat of the car, and like I could physically not move. My neck was like crouched to the side, like I could not move any part of my body, and my eyes were rolling back in my head. Like it was incredibly painful. And so my mom got me to the ER. She dropped me off, and they gave me Benadryl because I was having a horrible reaction to this medication. So they gave me, actually it took 2 doses of the Benadryl in the hospital before the reaction stopped. So that was my first medication they put me on.
Okay.
This was actually the only medication of its kind because they said that there were barely any side effects. No one had any extreme reactions. So they didn't have any other, even in the same family. This was the only medication of its kind.
Barely any.
Sorry, go ahead.
Barely any.
Yeah, barely any.
Yeah, barely. I like that barely any qualifies as like a good, like there's hardly any. Like there's some,
yeah.
But
it was
in the grand scheme of things, some is pretty awesome when we're talking medicine, but yeah.
I didn't look up, but it was a very, very small percentage of people who had a reaction that I did. But of course, I was not warned about this or anything. But anyway, another topic for conversation.
Yeah.
Then they put me on what's called domperidone, and that's actually a non-FDA approved medication. I had to get it from Canada because, again, they didn't think they needed any more FDA approved medications in this family because Reglan was the number one. So I was on domperidone for quite a long time, a very small dose of it. Didn't have much relief, but kept on trying it. And in college, I had an extreme reaction when they upped my dose to domperidone. So actually I went to Michigan State, and in Holmes Hall, walking in the bottom floor from a study session, I literally dropped to the floor. I just remember people rushing around me. Someone called 911, and I was taken by ambulance to Sparrow Hospital from a medication that I'd been taking forever, but this was the first time they had upped my dose because it had stopped doing what it was supposed to. So apparently, I've never really done great with medication. They've always had to try and push me onto different ones because I seem to have reactions to it. So that was in college. Some weird medications they tried to put me on for my stomach emptying, because the whole goal was to try and cover up the nausea, to prevent the nausea, to prevent the vomiting, and try and get my stomach to empty faster. So they were doing testing with anti-anxiety medication and antidepressants to try and help the stomach empty faster. So I was actually put on some of those, which can have extreme reactions. So I tried 3 different ones because they couldn't find something that I didn't have a reaction to.
Right.
And one of them, I remember telling my mom, I was like, I just don't like the feeling of this. So then they would, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So then they would put me on a different one. One of the best ones for nausea was Zofran.
Yep. Of course.
Zofran's a really good one. They actually put me on one that they give to chemotherapy patients. It was a very, very strong medication. And they offered me, what's medical marijuana called?
A couple of depends what we're using. CBD oil?
It wasn't an oil, it was a capsule. They offered me to take that, but I told my parents I didn't want to be on that love point. School. I was like, I don't want to be. So I felt weird to not take that. That's one I did not try. Another one I did not try was towards the end of my, I would say, medical career in hospitals, is they offered me Viagra because they had found that Viagra could stimulate gastric emptying.
Yes.
And I said no to that also. That was more, it was towards the end when I was starting to be like, I don't think they really know, like,
we're grasping at straws.
They're just trying different things. So I said no to that also. Do you want me to get to the procedures?
We got time for some procedures. Yeah,
Okay. So I had one where I had to swallow a pill and I had to wear like a pack on my stomach and they followed the pill through my digestive system. I had to do that one twice. They took out my gallbladder. And then I had 3 rounds of Botox injected into the bottom pyloric sphincter is what it's called of my stomach. So they would go through, I had to be put out, and they would go with a needle like down my throat and put 5 injections of Botox around the bottom of my stomach. I had that done 3 times.
Yeah. And if I recall, it was the 3rd one that didn't work?
It was the 3rd one that didn't work. And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
The first two worked, but they only worked for a very minimal amount of time. So. Yeah.
And that takes us to about when I met you then, because I met you shortly after the 3rd one didn't work, correct? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I was at what technically would you call it at the Ionia High School? It was
high school career fair.
It was just a career fair, right? So a lot of kids coming up looking for job opportunities, just learning about careers, and I had a booth set up there. So really, you were bringing kids to my booth to learn more about chiropractic. And what was your understanding of chiropractic at the time?
So I had actually been referred to a chiropractor while I was in high school to try something different. And it did. He wanted me to take more time there than I had, I guess, at that time, I would say. And he tried to put me on a lot of supplements.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work. So that's what I knew about chiropractic. That was my experience so far.
Okay. So in bringing kids up to my booth and hearing my kind of elevator talk, my 3-minute spiel about chiropractic and function, and again, I'm not going to get into that because that's on another video on this channel that you can go watch, but your ears kind of perked up and was like, all right, that was a different version of chiropractic that I've heard before. Because one of the things I mentioned is if we can get your brain talking to all of its parts, and that includes your digestive system should work the way that it was designed to. So that's when you said, what about gastroparesis? I think you even said, have you ever heard of it? And it was just like, yeah, I've heard of gastroparesis. So like, could this help me? And I say to anybody, regardless of what it is, I don't know. Even somebody watching this that has gastroparesis, like I've helped this case with gastroparesis, but I don't know because 2 people with the same thing still arrived at it different. So everybody's healing process is going to look different too. But what I do know is if I can connect the brain to its parts, things are going to work better. Is it going to be exactly the same as this person, this person, this person? I don't have a clue. So you said, could this help me? And I basically said, I don't know, but I would love a shot. So I think we got you scheduled that next week. You came in, you brought me a buttload of paperwork that I scanned and put into the file. And I think you even said on your first day when you came in, you sat down in the consultation room and said, okay, so did you read up about gastroparesis so you know how to treat me specifically. And do you remember what I said?
No.
You don't remember? I said, sure didn't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust your atlas. So why is the atlas important? I mean, everything is important in the spine, but your atlas is the very top bone of your neck. And what sits right here is your brain stem. And what does the brain stem control? Everything. It controls your entire autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is your sympathetics, your parasympathetics. Again, I already made a video on this. Go back in the channel and find that one. So if that bone is out of place, it causes an unbalance of that nervous system, so the digestive side gets suppressed. So you can have things like irritable bowel, colitis, Crohn's disease, gastroparesis. So I can get this bone back to where it needs to be, rebalance out that nervous system so that parasympathetics can start working again and things can get regulated again. The other thing though is one of your cranial nerves is called the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve leaves the brain stem and goes right down into the gut. This is actually something that a lot of gastroparesis patients, and I'm so glad that you didn't have this, a lot of gastroparesis patients will actually go and they will have that vagus nerve cut. Because in their mind, it's bad information going from the brain stem down the vagus nerve to the stomach, not a miscommunication. So what they'll do is, stomach's not working right, let's just go and cut that vagus nerve. That's obviously a big problem because we need to have innervation from that brain into that nerve. So we got this bone set. So let's start talking about your journey through chiropractic care. So was this I adjusted your atlas and the very next day everything was great?
No.
Not even close, right?
I think a couple weeks after, it was a little bit worse.
Worse, right. It should be. Because if the pendulum's here, sometimes it swings really far to the other side as well. So you are a lot more nauseous in the very beginning, remember? Our internet's starting to kill us right now. My wife is probably watching Netflix. So why would the body be having more nausea, even if this is back to where it needs to be and the brain can start talking to that stomach again, going, all right, I got work to do on this stomach. For 13 years, we've been out of balance. I haven't been able to send the right signals. Now I'm connected. I can send the right signal. I got to start healing this area. What is it going to want to do? Heal it, obviously, but that requires energy. So what doesn't it want you to do? Wasting energy on other things. So you became a lot more nauseous right after we started care because eating food requires energy that the stomach is going to have to utilize to digest that food. The stomach is trying to heal. It doesn't want anything extra going on. So what is your body's natural way to make you not put food into the system? Make you nauseous. But people don't really get that. They go, oh, I'm nauseous. I got to take something so I can eat. It's really your body telling you, I can't handle this right now because there's a problem down here. And if we got to heal, I need all the energy for the healing process, not for digesting food. Because again, if you have gastroparesis, how long does it take you to digest food? It's taking you about 6 to 8 hours. That's a lot of time, therefore a lot of energy that needs to be utilized, and that energy needs to be used for the healing process. So you were a fantastic patient in the fact that you listened to that, because most people would have said, I feel worse right after starting. I'm not going to do this anymore. Even though I explained this is what you can expect, you took that to heart and you went, all right, I understand, this makes sense. I had you doing journals, we had Google documents that you could start writing. How long would you think until you were quote unquote over the hurdle?
Like over the hurdle, I could tell that I was, like my life was changed.
Let's just say from when it was just like, okay, the amount of good days I'm having is going up and the amount of bad days is starting to go down.
Couple months.
Right. About 3.
Yeah.
Right? Why 3? 90 days. 90 days is about how long it takes the body to heal things. There's a lot of research that supports that. We can look that up later. But about 90 days is how long it takes. Getting things connected, getting things talking, that's almost the easy part. But now the system needs time to work. And 90 days, is, especially on functional things, seems to be that threshold. So about 90 days is when we can be like, all right, I can actually start to see evidence of things taking place. How long after that until you think or felt, wow, this really is different and I don't think I'm looking back at this point?
I knew right away I wasn't looking back, but mostly it's because of the way that you are easily able to express things. So I think really what drew me in at first was your ability to simplify how the body should work. Mm-hmm. And that connected with me because, like, I don't want to have my nausea just tamed down. I want my body to be cured. I want my body to work how it's supposed to. So that's what drew me in and kept me going through, the months of treatment where I wasn't necessarily feeling 100% better. But after 9 or 10 months, that's when my life changed. That's when I was like, I am a different person and I'm not going back.
Right. No, we didn't even get into this, but I mean, from 13 until your mid to late 20s when you started seeing me, this is high school, this is college, this is starting work. It's kind of, all of that pretty much sucked for you because that's when you were dealing with this. When you came in, I mean, it was very regimented, small meals, timed out perfectly, because if you deviated from the schedule, you'd pay for it.
Yeah.
Big time.
I mean, in college, even in high school, I would spend nights on the bathroom floor. In college, where my friends would spend nights out, and then they may pay for it and spend it on the bathroom floor later because of how much fun they had, I was spending nights on the bathroom floor because I was just so sick. So that the 13 years of my life it drastically changed it. I could have done a lot more things if I met you earlier.
Right. I wouldn't have been practicing at that point, but yeah. So what is life now? What are your eating habits like now? What are you able to do that you were not able to do in those 13 years?
Oh my gosh. Can I say everything? I can eat anything I want. I don't have to worry about meal timing. I don't have to worry about anything. I work out a lot. I'm building muscle. I'm exercising. I'm using my body to strengthen itself instead of just try to survive every day. I mean, my life is 180.
Yeah.
And even my parents see it.
Yeah, I think one of the last times, a few visits ago, you told me that your parents are still...
My mom and dad with it. I'll eat.
Start over. Our internet just cut again.
What'd you ask me?
Say your last sentence again. Our internet just went.
Oh, well, my parents, I think have seen the hugest change because they walked through this whole journey with me. They were the only two to see me through everything, through all the tests. And every time still, when we go out to dinner with my parents, my mom is just in awe when I eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have any food growing up or I would pay the price. And she says it almost every time. So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
The difference.
Now, what was something else that going through this journey, finding out it's gastroparesis, what was something else you were told, like, hey, this might be difficult for you to do or potentially might not even happen? Our internet's bad now.
Pregnancy.
All right, you're back. All right, dang it. Say it one more time. Our internet cut out again.
Pregnancy.
Getting pregnant. How did that go?
Yeah. So easy.
How old's the little one now? Let's see,
He is 1.5.
1.5. Yeah, 1.5. So could you imagine having gastroparesis, trying to chase a 1.5-year-old around?
It would not be possible.
Right? That to me, that's probably the biggest one that I think is just kind of like, man, imagine waking up when he wants to be up at 5 a.m. and you're on the bathroom floor because you ate too much last night or ate the wrong thing the night before. Or that's big. So not only were we able to get gastroparesis in our rearview mirror, we're able to have a kid, enjoying life with him, not having to be constantly a slave to this and out enjoying life. And that's what it's all about.
Right.
And again, there's nothing I did that it's not magic. It's the body is not supposed to be behaving that way. So no matter what people come in with, if I see a body behaving inappropriately, my first thought is, I wonder if the brain is sending the right signals to that area. Because if it was, there should be no reason why it's not working the way that it was designed to. I'm never knocking medicine, even though I did a little bit in this video. I'm not knocking medicine or surgery. They absolutely have their place in healthcare, but their place in healthcare should be way further down the line than they truly are. The first thing that we should be trying is, if I connect that brain and that body and let that system get back to work, let's first see if that system can do what it was intended to do. I always joke in the office that it's the miracle of life at first. 2 cells came together and it made a human being. Baby comes out and we go, this is a miracle. And then for some reason, the miracle is over 1 second later. Now we think the body's stupid. It makes mistakes. It needs a team of 20 people. It needs all this help, poking, prodding, and like all. No, the miracle stays with you the entire span of your life. Your body is really, really smart and it knows what to do, but it's got to be connected. And that's our job here as chiropractors. Reconnect that body, balance out that nervous system, make sure that brain can talk to all of its parts so things can just get back to work in the way that they were designed to. So that in a nutshell, that was 13 years boiled down into, I don't know, 25 to 30 minutes. So Kayla, we thank you so much for doing this. You're awesome for spreading the word. If you found this video useful, please tag somebody down below. Again, digestive things. Do I know that I'm going to be able to help every single person with digestive issues? No, I don't. But like I told Kayla a couple years back, I would absolutely love a shot. So if you found this video useful, please tag that person's name down below. Share this on your own page, because the saddest thing is people drive by my office every single day with something I potentially could help them with, and they don't even know I'm an option because they think chiropractic is neck pain, back pain, headache. What person thinks off the top of their head that chiropractic could help with something like gastroparesis? They don't. And that's why, Kayla, I thank you so much for coming here and spreading your story, because you never know who's going to see this, hear it, get tagged in it, and it could completely change their life like it did for you. So happy for you. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You changed my life, so
awesome.
At least I can.
Thank you very much. All right. Until next time, this has been Dr. McIver. We'll see you on your next visit. Bye.